Hello, world, and happy Monday. Hello, Zach. How are you doing?
I am pretty good. Justin, how are you doing this morning?
Doing dandy. My name is Justin Fisher, and welcome to yet another episode of YAA's Plugged In. Today, we're going to be talking about how Hyundai seems to be trying its hardest to catch up to Tesla's 75% market share in the US. And we're also going to talk about their brand new factory, which is just making headlines. It's gigantic. It's a huge deal. Batteries are going to be made, cars are going to be made, thousands of people hired. It's amazing. In addition to that, we've got some other news that we're going to hit on. So let's say hello to the chat, shall we?
Yeah, but wait, I just want to. I like how you introduced full name. I'm Zach Shefska. Good morning. I like that. That was really nice. That was smooth.
Yeah, I'm trying to earn my credentialed journalist license.
Yeah, you're telling me, man. Yeah, welcome some folks to the chat, and then let's jump into this news from Hyundai because they're investing a lot of money and seem dedicated and committed to breaking through the Tesla threshold of being the EV mainstay.
Something like that. Good morning, Mark. EV6 sold at a dealership near Mark or for 35,000 per salesman. I don't believe that, but we'll talk about that, Mark. Hi, Susanna. Good morning. Igor, great to see you. Sean, Neil. I saw Phil was in here. Mike Trudell, learning fast. It's great to see everyone. Thank you for being here. Yeah, so I have a Hyundai Ioniq 5. I love it. By the way, yesterday some random guy stopped me in a Subway parking lot and asked me if he could sit in my car.
Really?
He
That's a
said, like,
first.
yeah, I have never had anyone ask me if they could sit in my car, but honestly, I said yes because I was I was in a Subway parking lot. There were lots of people around. I didn't feel like he was about to take my car, and he
Yeah,
loved
yeah.
it. I feel like I'm an ambassador with my Ioniq 5, and Hyundai seems to be trying their hardest to bring EVs to the people. If only they could find a way to make more of them at lower prices, right?
Exactly. And so is that not behind their decision to invest over $5.5 billion in Savannah, Georgia? Also, isn't Rivian's expected plant, or maybe they already have it, isn't that also in Georgia? Is Georgia the home of EV production? That's another question I want to answer as we go through this story.
It's becoming the hub of EV production in the Southeast, in addition to Tennessee. Tennessee is getting Ford's new blue oval, gigantic F-150 Lightning factory. Tennessee is also already home to Volkswagen's big ID4 plans, where they're going from the Passat, which is bye-bye Passat, to the ID4. Pretty interesting. But
Yeah.
yeah, Georgia's a new hub of EV production. We're going to dive into that. It's just, well, let's dive into it now. What
Yeah,
shall we?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Hyundai is going to be building a megalopolis of sorts for EV production in beautiful Savannah, Georgia. Zach, have you ever been to Savannah?
I have never been to Savannah.
You should go there. Lots of good food, lots of swamps and beautiful live oak trees, and yeah, it's a nice place to be. I love Savannah. They're going to be hiring about 8,000 people once things are said and done. And the timeline is going to be roughly construction starting next year, 2023, with production beginning in 2025. In my opinion, this is pretty quick for building a $5.5 billion investment. That's pretty
And it's
fast.
all EV related, correct? This is no manufacturing for internal combustion engine vehicles. This is all EV vehicles and batteries in general, correct?
Yes, I was wondering the same, and I dug into it, and I was like, are they going to be building any like Santa Fe's or
Exactly.
Santa
Yeah.
Cruzes? Maybe in a few years they'll make an electrified version of those two popular vehicles, but no, it's all EVs. And if you think about it, that's where the industry is headed. How many tens of billions of dollars has Hyundai already committed before this announcement? I guess it's not too surprising. And I love
You
my Ioniq
have
5.
you have the you have the article back on the Join YA website, market share for the different OEMs. And obviously, actually, can we run back through some of those numbers really quickly to kind of set perspective here for how far ahead Tesla is, but quite frankly, how close relative to their peers Hyundai Kia are?
Yeah, if you want to pull that up and share it, because I still don't know how to do that. We'll learn it later.
Yeah,
Yes,
give me
we've
one sec.
got. So I'll start out by saying overall EV market share in the first quarter of 2022 here in the United States was a record of 5.2%. That's a lot. Considering that I started following EVs when we were under 0.5% market share in the US, 5% seems like a lot. Tesla continues to dominate. Right now, it's largely because they can make the vehicles. So right there, we've got the amazing trajectory over time, and that's why I think EVs are so exciting from like a market share perspective. Look at that growth. Imagine if automakers could make as many EVs as they want to. They currently can't because of the supply shortage. Here we've got automaker market share. Tesla, let's start at Q1 2022 over at the right-hand side. 75% market share in the US among EV sales. That's ridiculous. By now, many of the talking heads thought that we would be at like 50% market share for Tesla. Nope. That ain't happening. Why is Tesla still in the lead? They can make the cars. They've got such vertical integration and such a firm hold on their battery suppliers that they're able to keep making cars. Chip suppliers too. But let's talk Hyundai. They went from being relatively nothing to the number 2 player in the US by market share when you combine their sales with Kia. Why
By
are
a
we
lot.
Yes, by a lot. Roughly 9% EV market share in Q1. 1 year ago, they were at 3%. That's a huge jump. Now, not only does Hyundai have a majority stake in Kia, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I think they're owned by the same parent organization, all tied back.
Yeah, so the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Kia EV6 2022 electric vehicles, they're built on the exact same eGMP platform that they engineered together under one roof. I think it's fair to put them in the same category, and they're at 9% market share. Imagine if they could make more Ioniq 5s and EV6s.
I wonder, I don't have this data off the top of my head. I might try and look for it while we're live. I wonder where Hyundai fits in just in general market share. I know Toyota is the largest global and United States most sold vehicles. GM in the United States is number 2. I'd imagine Ford is number 3. Then maybe it's one of the other, maybe it's Hyundai Kia, maybe it's a Stellantis brand. I'm not sure. But Hyundai's got to have like a strong foothold here in the United States at this point.
I've got it pulled up already. So it's Toyota, which just barely beat General Motors for the first time. Then you got Ford in the 3rd spot, Stellantis in the 4th spot, Hyundai Kia in number 5 at 10%, 9.9% market share among all light duty vehicle sales in the US. So their EV market share is matching their general market share, which is interesting. I just can't help but think if they could sell more of these vehicles, if they could supply their dealers with more of these vehicles, they'd be doing even better.
And from a trajectory standpoint, they're seeing the most growth in their business from the EV. And I guess Hyundai doesn't have any plug-in hybrids. I don't think they do they?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't think they do. But even if they do, they're seeing the growth there, not in their traditional kind of ICE vehicles. I think my perspective, Hyundai is probably the most fierce. Hyundai Kia is probably the most fierce competition to Tesla in the United States. It's not GM. I don't think it's GM. I think maybe Ford, but I actually think Hyundai Kia, because they're starting to get this head start advantage. The only thing that could sway me is if we see electric pickup trucks like the F-150 Lightning and the Chevy Silverado EV. If those really become big hits like they are as ICE vehicles, then sure, maybe they'll maintain that 2nd or 3rd spot in line. But it seems like Hyundai Kia is taking a real shot at dethroning Tesla from being number 1. Not going to happen tomorrow, not going to happen next year even, but over maybe the next decade, they see themselves being a Tesla 2.0. At least that's how I think about it.
Yes, they've been integrating technology in as many aspects as they can in order to try to mirror the over-the-air advantage that Tesla has. They're not quite there yet, and I can attest to that, having just gone through our first recall experience. I don't know. It's been interesting, but I think Tesla's still going to be in the lead for at least 5 more years. That's my opinion.
Awesome comment here. Thanks everyone, by the way. Yeah, so the Santa Fe has a plug-in hybrid EV and the Ioniq was a plug-in hybrid EV. So thank you for that space. But this comment here, Justin. Hyundai only let down by their dealerships. It will be interesting to see how much that holds them and, quite frankly, Ford and GM and everyone else back. How much of this is I just want an EV and I need to transition to an EV, and how much of this is I don't want to deal with a car dealer ever again, so I'm going to Tesla. That's like a very interesting balancing act that's going on right now.
Yes, keep in mind that I had to go 600 miles to get the car I wanted at sticker price. Why wouldn't I just buy the one that was, an hour away for 3,000 over sticker? Because a plane ticket was only $300. I saved a lot of money when you do the math. So I really hope that Hyundai sees success and that their dealers do not ruin this for them because it's a huge opportunity. I have shown my vehicle to a few EV enthusiasts who said, if only it was made in America, I'd consider this a lot more. So I think that,
Wow.
yeah, that's what they said. And one of them was driving a Chevy Bolt. So I took his comment with a grain of salt. But a made in America EV is going to be more compelling to much of America, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, look at like kind of why people associate with Ford and GM because they're the American, brands rather than import brands. But still, with the imports, you typically get better warranties, better build quality, better reliability. So, anyway, well, it'll be interesting. But I guess if they're American made, then people get more excited.
Let's talk about why Hyundai might be so successful with these EVs, because
That was so smooth.
there are other competitors like the Ford Mustang Mach-E right now that is at roughly the same price point. It also gets the federal EV tax credit. The
Yeah.
Volkswagen ID4. There are others. Why is Hyundai so successful? I think the image behind me is one of the reasons. Maybe not the main reason, but it's one of the reasons. Look what they've
Styling.
done. They've turned a concept vehicle into reality. How
Yeah.
often does that happen? Not very often.
No.
My Ioniq 5 looks a lot like this concept behind me, which was unveiled 4 years ago. They've done the same with the Kia EV6. They're giving consumers what consumers basically had dismissed as too good to be true when it comes to retro futuristic styling, something that's different from Tesla. Tesla gets a lot of compliments for their styling, and credit is deserved, but it's ultra minimalistic. And not everyone wants. Zach, what have you called it? The Model Y looks like a bloated. What is it?
What is the Model Y? I know that the Mercedes EQS looks like a dolphin to me. That's my
You said
perspective on
something
the.
about the Model Y too. You said it looked like an oversized something. I don't know, but the point is, EV consumers are getting some diversity in the choices on the market, and Hyundai seems to be racing to the forefront of those offerings. Not to mention, you've got the 7,500 federal EV tax credit that still applies for Hyundai and Kia electric vehicles. Tesla has far exceeded their 200,000 vehicle cap. So, unless there's a revision to the US tax code or just incentives in general, Tesla's not going to benefit. Therefore, if you do the math, my Hyundai comes out to $59,000. I mean, $49,000, which is a
Yeah.
lot less than the Model Y that I was considering, which is currently sitting at 63. And I can't forget to mention 800-volt architecture. This is
Yeah.
a big one. The Hyundai Ioniq 5, Kia EV6, and all future electric vehicles from this group are equipped with much faster charging than the average Joe on the market right now. Much faster than the Volkswagen ID4, much faster than the Mustang Mach-E. Faster charging is extremely convenient and makes the switch from combustion vehicle lifestyle to electric vehicle lifestyle so much easier. I haven't ever spent more than 25 minutes at I almost said supercharger, at an Electrify America station. A lot of EVs on the market today, you've got to sit there for 45, 50 minutes. I wasn't cool with that. So I waited for the Ioniq 5. And I think that 800-volt architecture that enables faster charging is going to be one of the secrets to success for Hyundai in the next few years.
Definitely. And even the new GM Ultium platform, that's not 800 volt, is it?
No. I'm going to look
So
it
it's
up.
like,
I don't know.
I don't think it is because the charging times on the Silverado are not expected to be particularly good. So oh, go ahead.
The Ford F-150 Lightning's charging times are not particularly good. The Silverado EV's actually got some pretty good charging times.
This is why you're the expert and I'm the I'm the queue up guy. Regardless, I think you have an opportunity here if you're Hyundai and Kia to be able to continue to take market share, continue to get people excited about your brand. Although I got to share one thing with you, and then let's switch gears. I want to talk actually about the age of vehicles on the road, then that other Tesla story that I know we wanted to talk about. Literally right before the show, I was running a minute late because my dad and I, we were just doing an interview with Jeff Weinsteer, who is an investigative journalist down in Florida, who's doing a story and has done 3 stories now on dealers charging lease buyout fees that are ridiculous and illegal. And right as we were getting off, he was telling me and my dad a story about a young man who complained to Jeff and was in an article that he was going to buy his leased Kia, and the dealership was charging $2,000, $2,500 in fees. And that young man, who's probably going to buy 5, 10 more cars throughout his life, is never going to buy a Kia again, is what he said, because he had this bad experience. It goes back to the point I was bringing up earlier. How much are people attached to Teslas just because you don't have to buy them the way that you have to buy them through a Kia dealership? And how much will the dealership model hold them back as they try and grow their business? Maybe, honestly, Justin, what that says is the VinFasts of the world are actually going to be the number 2 player here, not the Hyundais and Kias, Fords and GMs, because whoever can figure out how to do it without dealers will actually win. It'll be really interesting to see what happens.
Are you going all in on VinFast, Zach?
Dude, I still have I want to see what my monthly payment's going to be on a VinFast. I don't understand that. I want to know what my insurance is. Like, there's a lot of questions with VinFast, but maybe you'll see me in a VinFast in a few years.
Nice. Make sure and give me the first test drive.
Consider it done.
Moving on, shall we?
Yes, let's talk about how old vehicles are getting. This I find very interesting.
Yeah. So S&P Global Mobility says that the average age of light-duty vehicles in the U.S. has risen 2% since last year to 12.2 years on average. Data from Cox also shows that vehicles with over 150,000 miles, so very, very high mileage vehicles, have increased on sales by 7% just in Q1 of 2022. What does this all mean? To me, they're saying the quiet part out loud. Most new vehicles, or all new vehicles, are too expensive, but especially electric vehicles. The EV revolution is never going to happen if the average transaction price for an EV is over $10,000 more than the ICE equivalent.
Oh,
I mean,
I 100% agree. Like, this fundamentally doesn't work until there's a cost-effective one for the masses. Who's doing that right now? I mean, legitimately, who's doing that?
and the way that incentives are structured, not everyone gets to take advantage of the federal EV tax credit. In the state that I live in, the average household income is about $50,000 per year. People earning the average household income in my state are not going to be able to take advantage of most of the federal EV incentive. The way things currently are, the EV revolution is going to take 50 years unless EVs get a lot cheaper or people start making a lot more money. And I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen as quickly as we want it to, right? That's not how inflation works. At least it doesn't follow a linear path. But
Yeah.
we'll see. I'm just not surprised that the average age of vehicles is going up, and I think it's going to continue to go up.
And does that not make you think that people, instead of purchasing a more fuel efficient, hybrid or electric vehicle, they're just going to continue to sit on and maintain their 2011 Hyundai Sonata, for example? It's like, why would I plunk down all of the money, even though the cost savings are there? I mean, you can very quickly see how the cost savings are there. Just the out-of-pocket expense to get into one of these vehicles is just unattainable. And I think I agree with you. We're going to see the average age of a vehicle go from 12.2 years to 12.8 years to 13.5 years. Because as we continue to have the car shortage, and quite frankly, the cost of EVs, I haven't read anywhere, Justin, that says the cost of EVs are going to go down. If anything, the prices are going to continue to go up because the raw materials costs go up. You're just going to see people sitting on their older and older cars. And then interestingly, if the new car production isn't there, it's not like you have 5 years from now a lot of EV used vehicles in the market. And then when you do, there's a lot of challenges and questions there. Like, how do I know if I'm getting a good used EV versus a bad used EV? Is a Carfax report on an Ioniq 5 as useful as a Carfax report was on just the Ioniq or a Santa Fe? Like, there's going to need to be a whole new set of standards for how we inspect and understand the quality of used EVs. And there's not even going to be that many used EVs. It's sad to say, but I think there are a lot of hurdles that we face on the EV revolution front, and it kind of makes Toyota's strategy of going all in on hybrid seem a little more rational.
Yeah, I've been thinking long and hard about this. Like, wow, Toyota, they are the number one automaker by sales in the US. They have to have some wisdom behind what they're doing, right? And this is it, Zach. They've seen that the EV revolution isn't going to happen by 2030. No, it's going to happen over many decades, and their business is doing better than ever. So why change course with their successful hybrid model?
Yeah, I think it makes sense, and it's also more attainable from a price point perspective, and honestly from a technology perspective as well. Hybrids have been around for decades now. Consumers are more comfortable with that. To a lot of people, EV is kind of intimidating. Hybrid is it's the gateway. Hybrids are the gateway drug to electric vehicles.
Phil in the
There
chat
you go. Yeah.
says hybrid is the way to continue that transition to EV. Phil, I agree. And plug-in hybrids, in my opinion, are great for a lot of people who don't have access to charging. I know that hybrids, no, correct me if I'm wrong, but hybrids are far more affordable than electric vehicles on average. And if you do not drive a lot, it's going to make more financial sense to go with the hybrid rather than spending an extra $11,000 on a fully electric vehicle.
Definitely.
Hybrids aren't going away. In fact, we may see more of them.
Yeah. One other thing that we're seeing in more and more cars, Justin, is kind of connected technology, a lot of tech advancements and things like that. There was a super interesting story in automotive news this morning that talked about some of the, we'll call them threats that these connected cars have. Did you have a chance to read that article? What was your take on it?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that I envy about Tesla ownership is the over-the-air updates, the technology integration. It's just really a seamless experience. It's not even the superchargers that I miss most. It's really how future-proof the vehicle seems because of the technology integration. Well, now I'm kind of feeling a little bit happier with my Ioniq 5 and second guessing my envy for Tesla's tech integration because it looks like it's not that hard to hack a Tesla. Are we really surprised though, Zach? I mean, it's a rolling computer.
I honestly, and quite frankly, if you didn't see this coming, you're probably not aware that this happens all the time in real life. All sorts of cybersecurity threats. I love how this gentleman that was profiled in the article, David Colombo. I like that he's a researcher. A researcher. He's just hacking away as a researcher. There are lots of different things that within vehicles, connected vehicles, can be compromised, I guess is the right word to use.
Yeah, here's David Colombo's past 10-year accomplishments. So this is what David Colombo has done in the past 10 years. Started coding at the age of 10. Remember, we're talking just the past 10 years.
Yep.
Got into cybersecurity at age 13, dropped out of school at the age of 15 with government permission so that he could start a cybersecurity company. And now at age 19, he hacked a Tesla and is now on international news. This is a good guy showing us the vulnerabilities of electric vehicles. What are the bad guys up to? That's what I want to know.
Seriously, especially as like here in Bethesda, Maryland, Ford Mustang Mach-E's are actually like government vehicles here.
And I know that the U.S. Department of Defense has been looking into this. I don't know what their findings have been, but the government's involved, really, ever since 2015 when some other good guy researchers, they hacked a Jeep Grand Cherokee in 2015. Ever since then, the government's been involved trying to scurry the automakers in the right direction, saying, please stay focused on this. Make sure that the vehicles don't all get hacked at once by some foreign adversary. That would be a real mess.
Justin, I'm laughing because I'm just thinking like, imagine you have to download like Norton antivirus to your car computer or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a Vast? You know how they have like back the old school ones had all the pop-ups on your computer? Oh,
yes.
Yeah. It kind of feels like we're maybe headed in that direction. Hopefully not.
I don't know, but it's not surprising to me. I can only hope that the automakers do take it more seriously. Also, I seriously am pretty glad that I don't have the full technology integration that Tesla has. It would be great to be able to fix recalls from home. I still have to go into the dealership for mine with my Ioniq 5. However, I am feeling a little more comfortable about the cybersecurity threats maybe not impacting me as quickly as they would if I had bought a Model Y. I don't know.
Potentially, potentially. Now, I
Potentially.
know there were a couple questions from the YAA community forum. If you're not on the community forum, you totally should be. It's free, it's fun, lots of enthusiasts, people trying to help each other just at joinyaa.com/community. Now, Justin, I actually want to ask you the question about the one that came from Lawn Guy first. My dad talks and complains about this a lot. Part of the EV revolution, another thing that might stifle it is people who live in apartment complexes or only have street parking. Now, I know because I read like TechCrunch and things like that, there's some really futuristic, interesting ideas for even roads that as you drive on them, they recharge the battery in the vehicle. Like there's a lot of crazy concepts out there. But is this not another hurdle? The idea that what am I going to do? Hang an extension cord from my apartment, down to my EV?
This is a serious issue. We're going to start with a little bit of lighthearted humor first. I have seen many images online of EV owners who are in this situation. They don't have any charging or any place to charge. So they plug in their EVSE, their home charger. They plug it in to just, for example, the Christmas lights that hang on trees along the city streets, along the sidewalk. They unplug the Christmas light, plug in their EV charger, and then just like hang it from the tree. This happens a lot. This is a serious issue, but there are very innovative solutions, as you can see. I know that a lot of change has happened with tenants and homeowners who live in multifamily housing simply asking the property manager to consider installing
Yeah.
electric vehicle charging. That has had more success than one might think because they're businessmen usually when they're property managers, and they see that the market is going towards EVs and it can give their property a competitive advantage if it's already prepared for the EVs to come. However, here's a consideration or more of a concern that I have with this topic. We just talked about the need for a Carfax for EVs, right?
Definitely. Yeah.
Is there a future in the very near future, maybe even right now, where you're shopping for a used electric vehicle and you ask the seller, do you live in an apartment by chance? Now, why would you want to ask that? Because if they do, that means they most likely fast charge way more than they should because they don't have access to overnight charging.
Yeah.
Fast charging degrades the battery quicker. I would not want to buy a used electric vehicle that has relied on fast charging to get its electrons. That's an interesting consideration we've never had to think about before with used vehicles.
Yeah, and I like this point here from Susanna. Most landlords are not going to install charging stations at their complexes unless there's some incentive to do so. And so, heck, even at the garage here at the office, like there's charging. And Justice is in the chat reminding us that the city of Sacramento, they've begun installing public parking charging stations on roadside parking. So there's more and more options for those who live in these complexes. But I think it's going to be it's just another thing that slows down the revolution. You got to have incentives for the people that own these parking garages or own these apartment complexes to actually want to put in the charging infrastructure. So folks are not doing what you just alluded to, which is just fast charging left and right every single day, degrading the battery. It's an interesting dynamic, and it kind of reminds me, I know I was too young to be around for this, but probably when cable rolled out for the first time. Like it starts in specific areas, and then you know what had to happen? They had to lay the actual cable so that you could get the TV shows. It kind of feels a little bit like that. Eventually, everywhere there will be access, but until then, it's kind of piecemeal, piece by piece.
Exactly. Do we have any other viewer questions that we want to address?
Go for it. Why don't we do that last one that you had queued up and then call it a day?
Yes. We had a YAA community member ask us, his name is Eduardo, to rank some EVs because I know Eduardo is currently in the market for an electric vehicle. And I love it when you all send me these questions. So please email me at justin@joinyaa.com. I'd love to help you with your decision making. Wants us to rank some EVs. It's got the Ford Mustang Mach-E, Hyundai Ioniq 5, Kia EV6, Volkswagen ID4, and then the 2 Volvos. I'm going to go through this quickly, but I'm going to tell you why for each one. I think both the Hyundai and the Kia are sharing the number 1 spot because of that 800-volt architecture. Eduardo and anyone else out there shopping for an EV, if you're on a road trip, you should either consider a Tesla or these 800-volt EVs for the most convenient charging access, and that can make or break how fun a road trip is. Next up, I would have the Ford Mustang Mach-E because it seems to have quite high resale value. To me, it looks pretty cool. It's got a perfect mixture of performance and comfort. Volkswagen ID4, that's going to be next up. It's got slower charging. However, I've test driven it and I really liked the ride of that vehicle, especially if you have a family, but it's not sporty. And then we've got the 2 Volvos at the end of the list because they're expensive. The new Volvo XC40, C40 Recharge starts at like 60,000. The rest of the ones on this list, you can get them for under 45,000 if you find a good deal at MSRP. So Eduardo, keep me updated how your shopping experience is going for your first EV. And if anyone out there is ever looking just for some YAA auto expert advice, let us know over at the Electric Vehicle Community Forum on joinyaa.com.
Well done, Justin. Well done. Let's call it a day. How about we call it Monday? We'll be back on Wednesday. Who knows? Maybe you'll even have another guest host on Wednesday. I see you're getting in the cadence of that. And you know what? I enjoy watching and listening. So thanks for letting me sit in on a Monday. I'll look forward to watching you on Wednesday.
One of these days, I'm just going to ask these people who want to sit in my car randomly in public, only if you're going to be a co-host on the show on Wednesday. Have to start bartering. But thank you, everyone, and we'll see you Wednesday.
See you, Justin.